So at this point, 20 years old. Like I said, I'm a full-time thief, full-time drug addict, every second of the day, 24/7. And this is when I even started to support my habit by selling drugs too, right? So I'm thieving, drug dealing, and doing drugs, right? Drug dealing, it's a very dangerous business, right? So this is when I bought a weapon to protect myself. I bought a gun to protect myself. And now I'm full-time with a gun on me, right? The problem is that the drugs that I was on, it's the concoction and the mixture of these drugs makes you do things that are way out of character, right? So one night, it was August 25th, 2015. I had my gun, I had a ski mask, and I robbed 7 convenience stores in one night.
With a gun?
With a gun, yes. And
I mean, you held up the
armed robbery.
Armed robbery.
You held them up at gunpoint.
Yes. So now I'm driving back. I'm driving home after committing these crimes, and a cop car pulls up behind me. He follows me for about 5 minutes, and he pulls me over finally, and I'm surrounded by a lot of cop cars. They tell me, I put it in the book in the beginning, take the keys out of the ignition, throw them out of the car on a loudspeaker. They said it to me. I did exactly what they asked me to. They cuffed me. They put me in the back of a cop car, and that's where they drove me and booked me, to the jail.
You didn't resist that.
I did not resist. I was completely compliant with them. I was very nervous, because you don't want to play around with the cops. It never, as long as you comply, they're pretty respectful to you. So they were respectful to me because I was respectful to them.
7
Yes.
convenience stores, at gunpoint. Do you remember much of, I guess, during that spree? Was there anything, was it the fear on the faces of the people that you were robbing? Was it any interactions that took place that you remember?
Not really. It was really all a fog, because on that night I was on 5 different drugs. That's where it got to that point of my addiction where I was literally mixing 5 different drugs. So the whole night was a fog.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember. I remember doing it, but I don't remember any details. I just remember
It's
sitting.
like an out of body.
Exactly.
And you were more or less calm when you got pulled over?
Yeah, I was calm.
And you knew what this meant?
Yeah, I knew what this meant. I remember sitting in the back of the cop car, handcuffed, and I asked the cop as he's driving me, I asked him, am I going to prison? Am I going to be okay? I asked him, and he said, like in a non-caring way, he was like, you'll be all right, and they drove me off, and that's where the journey started.
Man,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
you get to, I guess,
So I get to a jail. They put you in a holding cell. You're with about 20 other guys. It's a very small room, right? There's like a toilet for 20 guys in there. I sat there for about 25 hours. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't use the bathroom because it's very embarrassing with other guys over there. It was a mess. I couldn't believe I was there. The people that I was surrounded by, I could not believe it. Going from this football star to where I'm sitting right now. And so after 24 hours in the holding cell, they take me to
You're also coming down from whatever
Yeah.
influence you were
so
under.
now I'm really understanding my situation. You know what I mean? But it was too much. I was too intoxicated. But now I'm fully understanding where I'm at. I get taken away from the holding cell. Now I'm put in a dorm with a couple hundred other guys over there. And this is also very nerve-wracking too, because, you get guys who are staring at you, testing for weakness. And, it's like a jungle over there. You never know what could happen to you. There's a lot of predators over there. So this is where I'm at. And I spent 2.5 weeks over there until I was released on bond.
So you were awaiting like a judge sentencing? Or?
Yes. So I was awaiting sentencing. Sentencing takes a long time. It actually took about a year for me to get sentenced.
So what's going on in that in the interim? So you got released on bonds. You were able to go home?
Yeah. So I was released on house arrest. I had to put an ankle monitor on me. I was made to go to a rehab for 30 days, right? So I went to the rehab. I did very well, and I'm clean for 30 days, right? But my addiction picked back up while I was on the house arrest. I ended up drinking every single night that I was on house arrest. I couldn't handle the thoughts of what I was facing.
Right.
They were telling me I was facing maybe 50 years in prison as a 20-year-old kid. So I just couldn't handle it. I'm drinking every night. I'm very stressed out about the situation. And it got really bad again at that point.
Did you ever violate that?
No. So I dodged so many bullets over there because they come and they breathalyze you and they do drug tests over there. And I dodged many bullets over there. And it got to one point where my mom, she said to me that, you know, we can't do this anymore. You need to turn yourself in, right? So I ended up turning myself in to the jail where I would await sentencing over there.
Wow. So you
Yeah.
reported to
Wow.
prison and didn't
Early.
didn't wait out the house arrest.
No.
Wow.
So
I was going to ask you
yes.
how the relationship with your mom was during that.
So
that time.
it was when I first got out, it got better because she saw that I went to rehab, that I was clean, and I started to regain her trust. Obviously, she was very nervous for me, but when I started to drink every single day again, she was very upset with me to the point where she actually, like I said, she put me back for my own good
Mhm.
into the jail.
I find it to be
Yes.
so interesting that like that's how the system works, where
Yeah.
you commit the crime, and then they're like, okay, you're gonna go home now for a year,
Yeah.
and we're gonna monitor you with an angle, and then you could do all the work to rectify your behavior. You went to
Yes.
rehab, and then they're gonna sentence you.
Yep.
It's like
Yes.
you technically could have resolved those demons, those
sure.
addictions. Obviously, in your case, that wasn't necessarily the case. You went back to prison. Is that at that point, did they sentence you then, or?
So they put me back May of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sentenced until September.
So from May to September, you're there in a
I
cell.
was stuck there. Yeah.
Okay.
I was stuck. But I did start my time. You start your time even before you get sentenced, right?
Okay.
So I'm sitting there, and ironically, I even picked up a drug habit in the jail too. They bring drugs in the jail. Other inmates, the officers sometimes. It's a whole corrupt system.
That's
over there.
rough.
Yeah.
That's rough. Doesn't really sound such like a correction
No,
facility.
not at all. Not at all. And that's what it's all about, rehabilitation and correction, but it's more like warehousing people,
Yeah.
So yeah, I picked up the drug habit over there, and it's now I'm at an all-time low at that point, doing drugs in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2017 sentencing time.
Yes. So I was sentenced 2016,
Okay.
and
How long were you sentenced for?
for 8 years.
Wow.
Yes.
And you're 20 years old.
20 years old, 8 years. I was 21 at the time of the sentencing, but they sentenced me to 8 years, right? So I'll tell you a story. When I got back from the sentencing, I got in trouble by the officers. They caught me doing drugs over there
After the sentencing.
after the sentencing. I planned in my head, okay, I'm going to do 8 years in prison. I don't know how I'm going to handle this sober. I'm going to have to do drugs throughout the sentence, right? So I was caught by an officer doing drugs over there. And I knew I was going to get in trouble for sure. Like, they'll write you up, meaning you could add more time to your sentence, whatever it may be, right? But, Hashem really saved me over there. And that night, I was shipped out of the jail that I was in to a prison in California. And I dodged that whole bullet of getting in trouble over there, right?
For that, yeah.
Yes. So that night that I got in trouble and I shipped out to prison, I haven't touched a drug since.
Wow.
I've been completely clean and sober since.
Well, what caused that? Because I feel like there's so many different times in your life where
Yes.
you
Where I
had the
just keep coming
opportunity to
back.
make that decision. But like,
Yeah.
why then?
I felt at that point that my luck had just ran out. Like, I just told myself, like, how low am I going to get?
Doesn't sound like you had
Yeah.
too much luck.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what's next?
Yeah.
Really, what is next
Yeah.
for me after this? So I told myself, I had a new beginning starting in a new prison. I told myself, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this to my family anymore. If not me, my mom at least do this for my mom and my dad, So that's how I felt. And I haven't touched anything.
Were you present at the sentencing?
Yes, so I was present over
when you
there.
heard the judge hand down 8 years.
Yes.
What was that reaction like?
I'll be honest with you. I was prepared for it. I already knew I was going to get between 7 and 13 years in prison, so I was kind of happy that it was 8. It was the low end, but I was truly prepared for it. You know, I was ready to go on that journey. You know, I was ready, and you know, it's my whole family was there at the sentencing. I got to say goodbye to my grandmother. She was like 85 at the time. They let me grab her hand and say goodbye. She was crying. My mom was crying. Everybody was messed up. I wasn't crying. I was just ready. I was really ready for what was ever next
Wow.
ahead. Yeah.